worth telling. I'm so glad that you're able to come and visit with us today.
Well, thank you for the invite.
Oh, my goodness, yes, of course. And Brian, you are a veteran.
I am.
And tell me, where did you serve?
I served in the United States Navy 1969 to 1973. I started off as a jet engine mechanic, a tassel operator, and then I got sea duty. I was assigned to HSL 30, Lakehurst, New Jersey, one of the few squadrons that actually hunted submarines. In the land of submarines here, I belong to a squadron that we hunted submarines in the Mediterranean.
So at least you had a beautiful spot to be as far as the Mediterranean. I don't know if you ever popped up every once in a while to be able to see some of that area.
I did. Join the Navy and see the world. It's an adventure.
It is an adventure. Well, thank you, Brian, for your service.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, and I've been reminded on occasion that it's not enough just to thank a veteran. Tell me, what else am I supposed to do?
Oh, I am so glad you mentioned that. Yes, next time you thank a veteran for his service, I'm asking, please take it up to the next level and ask him, are you getting the benefits you've been promised?
Okay.
I am dealing with so many veterans that they're not getting the benefits they've been promised. Some of them don't know how to get them. Some, they don't know what they are. Others, they don't know what they're eligible for. But it's very, very important that every veteran, number one, register his DD 214 in Town Hall.
Okay.
There is an advantage of having a property deduction. Number two, that means that the state of Connecticut now has a means of counting veterans, which is very important for future legislation dealing with veterans' benefits. They must be counted. Number two, very important, is to register with the VA itself. That way, you are being counted federally for veterans' benefits with legislation that also affects future veterans. The caveat is that now you're eligible for veterans benefits through the VA. Not just your 10% military ID card, but medical, all your schooling, and all the other items that the VA offers for veterans. Now you are eligible once you're registered with the VA system.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot, and it sounds like it's a little bit logistically complicated, if that's fair to say. It's not all easy, so your job is as a veteran representative. What is your title, Brian? You've been given a title.
My title is East Lyme Veterans Representative. My job is to act like the hall monitor. I have such extensive experience with the VA system. I direct you to, you call this number for this benefit, you call this number for this benefit. It gives people a point of contact in the VA system to start the investigation on exactly what they're eligible for and how to get their benefits.
So if it's like social services, there's a 211 number that you call if you're concerned about somebody, and you're kind of like that calls for help. Is there another way, if they can't reach you or see you, is there another way that people could reach veterans or reach the veteran services?
There are so many, yes there is. There's so many different benefits and organizations that are interested in the benefits of veterans. Not all of them are federally funded like the VA. You have your Veterans of Foreign Wars, you've got American Legion, you've got Disabled American Veterans. There are so many other organizations that are interested in VA veterans benefits. Not all of them pay. The VA is the only one that has compensation and other rulings that benefit the veteran both medically, through school, through homing, for housing, for homing, for all these things, hearing aids that a veteran is eligible for once he is part of the VA system.
Okay. And so you served and then you got out. And did you get involved with Veterans Affairs and Veterans activities right after you were discharged?
No.
No. This has been kind of a transition.
Okay, because I suffered myself from a being eligible, the decision-making process. I had to go through the appeals process with the VA. And to know the pain and anguish of waiting 14 years on a benefit that was due by default because I served when I got damaged, and having the VA recognize, yes, you are damaged material during your service, and then they have to go through the appeals process to get the compensation. I don't want other veterans to suffer like I did.
Absolutely. Well, and I really appreciate your sharing that and how much you know about that. I think it's almost like forewarned is forearmed might be a good adage to put with this. And it's kind of like helping little brother and pulling them along, or little sister,
I
or
use
whatever.
the expression, been there, done that.
Right?
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Right. Because it's logistically complicated. There's a lot of numbers, there might be roadblocks, there might be, you're laughing because it's so true, right?
The VA umbrella covers compensation, medical, you can buy homes through the VA loan, you've got rehabilitation, you've got your GI Bill. It just goes on and on. And the problem lies that a lot of the VA entities themselves don't talk to each other. So if you have a shortcut, knowing that you've got an issue and where to go to get your first point of contact, an example, if you need help with home, getting around your home, you don't want to go to VA housing, you don't want to go to a home loan, you want to go to a caseworker to have them investigate how your lifestyle is.
Oh, nice. So then caseworkers actually come out to the house. But I imagine it's like any other social service agency where the needs are great and the ability to meet those needs might be kind of compromised because the demand is so high. Am I right on that?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. There's many, okay, I will not try to memorize all the VA regulations. There's many times it deals on when you served, how much time you served, and what kind of damage you suffered.
So first of all, if you serve longer, then
if you
not necessarily
served in a known conflict.
Okay.
You
so
served Vietnam, Korea, World War II. If you served during peacetime, your eligibility for benefits decreases.
Okay.
And then if you only served a 6-month period of time or less, your benefits decrease. So it's got to be a time of war, you got to have served the minimum amount of required time frame, and then you got to have an established record of damage from your service.
Well, and I know we're going to talk about coffee houses in a little bit, but I've been to some of your coffee houses. Thank you for the invitations for that. But going to those coffee houses is so, I don't want to say heartwarming because it doesn't warm your heart, but it wrenches your heart. It makes you feel the pain and feel my eyes open up, I guess, and I feel more empathetic and honored to be in the presence of so many people who served. I did not serve. I was from a large family. I had 7 brothers. 3 of my brothers served, and so I understand what happens when people go to war because all 3 of them came back differently. And that was one of the things at one of the coffee houses that I went to that I can't quote the person and I don't know who said it, but one of your fellow veterans said something to the effect that we all come back older and war ages you and just that experience. And of course, just moving away from home is a big enough deal and going through training and boot camp and all of that, but to actually go and to be amongst or amidst the bombing and the fighting and things like that in war-torn areas, that's got to be a horrific experience.
Each person upon military service changes, some for the better, some for the worse. It's now up to the VA. They made you a promise when you entered the military service to be corrected or compensated for. So that's where the benefits come in. But how to get to those benefits is the question.
Okay, how to get to those benefits.
Okay.
Tell me.
Number 1, you got to have your DD-214 on record with Town Hall. And number 2, register at the VA.
Okay, and what VA? You and I both live in East Lyme, so where is the closest?
Shaw's Cove. What you want to do.
In New London.
In New London. You take your DD-214 military discharge papers, go to Shaw's Cove and say, I want a VA identification card.
Okay, and then that VA identification card gets them 10%.
That gets them into the system, and then participating merchants is a 10% discount.
Okay,
The primary reason is now you are being counted as a veteran for future legislation.
okay, which is very important.
Especially when the time frame they're trying to cut back in cost savings. Yes, it is very important that future benefits and also those that are being jeopardized be accounted for.
And like we just said, pretty much everybody comes back with some
Everybody is changed.
change. So, and,
Everybody.
and regardless of whether or not they actually want to receive anything, I think they should be evaluated and looked at to see if,
First step, yes.
Right, first
yes.
step, right.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the benefits and being counted and how that is so important. You showed me an app on your phone. Do you have your phone
Yes,
handy?
I do. Oh, please.
Right.
Oh, please.
So you showed me an app on your phone. So first I say, thank you for your service, Brian. What was your rank? What should I call you?
You didn't complete the original statement. In the Navy, I was a second-class petty officer.
Okay, so thank you for your service,
And then the
second-class petty officer.
Okay, the second part of the service was that I joined the National Guard and became a staff sergeant.
Okay, and then thank you
This
for your
is
service.
your app right here.
Hold on. Let me. And then I'm going to ask you, are you getting the services that you were promised, the compensation, right?
Good question.
Okay, and then you have something on your, so they just hold it in front of you, just like this, right in front of you. So then Reggie can, yeah, okay. So then there's an app on the phone, and it's a nice logo with an eagle.
This is Connecticut Veterans, Department of Veteran Affairs.
Okay, describe that to me. It has an eagle and a flag, and it says just what you said. And then there's a number you can call for crisis assistance.
Yes.
What happens if you push that button?
They pick it up on the second call. It goes to the psychiatry in West Haven DA Health Clinic.
You're saving lives right there, Brian.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You have instant access to somebody that wants to talk to the veteran right then and there.
And they've been trained peer coaching?
Yes, they are trained to answer the questions and be online for service and for help.
Wow, okay. And then there's another
That one
button
is
that
where you get your benefits.
so you can swipe to
You get it swipe,
the right.
and it's got your benefits for federal, for state, and it's got coming up events, it's got jobs, it's got housing, it's got all these items listed under one website.
Okay, so if
Now, just for your,
okay, yeah, please
we're gonna,
walk me through it a little bit.
okay, we're gonna go to VA benefits. You asked a question about your ID card.
Could I just have my ID card on my phone?
What we're gonna do is show you.
I think the answer might be yes on this one.
Okay. As soon as it comes up, you'll have on your phone identification and how to get your VA identification
Okay,
card.
hold it in front of you and maybe he can, okay, can you see that? You can't really see it, but okay, so just to say, yeah, that it's there, it's an easy app, it's just a free app that you can download, because I downloaded it on my phone.
Yes,
because
you can. It
go
also
ahead.
gives you a phone number to call about your. The phone number is 877 222 8387. I will repeat. To call about your VA ID card, you will call 877 222 8387 and find out if you got eligibility for your VA card.
Okay, very good, very nice. Is there anything else you want to talk about that app?
It just goes on and on and on. Every person that's a veteran needs to have this app on his phone.
What do you like to drink, coffee or tea? What's your favorite?
Okay, coffee.
Okay, so I would suggest sit down with a cup of coffee. Do you put cream or drink it black?
Just cream.
A little bit of cream. Sit down with your coffee with cream and just kind of explore that app.
Explore it.
And find out and maybe check it out, right?
Yes, exactly. Find out where the benefits are, if you're eligible, who to contact, and how to get to them.
Perfect. Okay. Very nice. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, Brian, what are coffee houses? Is that like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts?
Coffee House is initiated with the Thames Valley Council Community Action. What
Okay,
it is
some people call that TVCCA.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. What they did is they found that veterans were not getting the information. So they designed a group setting where veterans get together talking about veterans issues with coffee. There's in Thames Valley, Southeastern Connecticut, there's 7, 8 of them. Norwich, Putnam, New London, Groton, Waterford, and I have one here in East Lyme.
Now this is a new one.
This is a new one.
How
that is
long
correct.
has it been in?
My first coffee house was in October.
Nice. So since October, and I've been there 2 or 3 times now at this point, maybe a little bit more, but the meetings are held regularly, and on this poster it says Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m.
Second Wednesday of every month.
And then there's a number there, and that's the number that goes, because that's a 739 number, so that must be the number to the coffee house itself.
That's the number to the VFW Post. The VFW Post in Niantic is sponsoring it.
Oh, okay. And that's something...
VFW Post 5849, 39 Columbus Avenue,
So that's,
Niantic.
okay, so that's the number to this location.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. But nobody is there most of the time, typically.
You got an answering machine.
Okay, so if I left a message, somebody will call me back.
I would prefer they call me directly.
Okay, okay.
And that number is area code 860-287-2683. Again.
860-287-2683.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So we can call you and we'll get a cheery voice on the other end of the phone and you will say, hey, what's going on? And we'll
Welcome and come on down.
welcome and come on down. Thank you for all of that. That's really being out there and kind of opening up your heart and helping. That's wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
The whole idea is veterans, helping veterans on veteran issues.
Okay, tell me about the coffee houses. So you have coffee houses, and you said people go for coffee and conversation, and you're there together.
Fellowship, sharing, because, okay, I love this part. Veterans have a relationship that they can relate to other veterans a lot easier than normal people can relate on a civilian world. And I've given an example of hurry up and wait.
Okay, hurry up and
In
wait.
the military, hurry up and wait can be extremely painful. And in the civilian world, you don't get the full feeling of the pain, but you do in the military. In the example given, in the Navy, there was a really, really hardcore chief. And he had a young seaman. He'd be on that young seaman's case. And more than one occasion, that chief would just about break that seaman to tears. Well, finally, that young seaman's time was up. He's getting out of the Navy. And that chief had to get in one more last dig. And he says to the young seaman, I'll bet you want to pee in my grave when I die. And the young seaman looks at him and says, you know, Chief, I'll be honest with you. When I get out of the Navy, I promise myself I'm never going to stand a long line again.
Well, I'm happy. I hope he finds express lanes wherever he goes. That's what I'm hoping for that young seaman. That's a great story, Brian. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. When you go to the Veterans Coffee House, that also has the opportunity for you to have speakers.
Yes, yes.
Speakers will sometimes come and talk about
direct
transportation
issues. Transportation, how to get into the medical. I am having a guest speaker this coming February 12th.
February 12th.
She is from the Norwich Service Officer, Jenny Gardiner, and she talks directly about compensation, how to get into the VA system, and what you're eligible for.
So Jenny Gardiner, I'm sure she's lovely and wonderful. So that would be a good thing for people to come and pay attention to.
Especially if you're interested in your benefits and compensation and getting paid for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Who wouldn't be, right? Yeah, I don't know anybody who wouldn't be. Sorry, I have a little bit of a tickle in my throat. I did want to talk about this calendar too that I picked up at one of your veteran coffee houses or meetings that you had. Tell me about the calendar.
I really don't know that much about it, except it's a nice looking calendar, and I see it has VA benefits.
It has information all over it, and what is healthy living, and then there's something here, Brian. Look at this. I really like this on it. It's running, looks like blood pressure, and then heart. So every day, if your health or heart are at risk, then perhaps keeping track of some of those things on a daily log. So this is a nice little system, I thought.
That is impressive.
Yeah. And that goes on, and then each month is a different thing, maintaining a healthy weight.
The VA has been putting out an awful lot of information via intranet. On my card, I have in the very bottom a website, the Next Door Neighbor.
Nextdoorneighbor.com.
Yes. All the information I received from the VA, from Veterans of Foreign Wars, from whoever, I post there. And it is a long-running storage of all current information, including veterans events, veteran sponsorships. All this information is posted there.
Okay. And when you get to go to some of these different events and sponsorships and things like that, you get to meet a good group of guys
Yes, you do.
and women as well too who
Yes, you
have
do.
served. And I've really had a pleasure in meeting some of them, and they've been welcoming me as well, because I feel like they like people who are, I guess, warm and welcoming and supportive of what their services are, and helping them as much as we possibly can. We don't know, but we can get a sense of it. We've lived with it a little bit. Are there additional services for families, supports for families, like veterans' wives, veterans' children?
Auxiliary, okay, yes. Again, there's so many of them, just to call one. The VFW posts have auxiliary meetings. There's also, in the VA system itself, caregivers. There's also caregivers retreats. There's, again, so much different information that is available that people need to be aware of.
I didn't even know about that. Caregiver retreats for somebody who's a
Caregiver retreats,
veteran?
that is correct.
Wow.
That is correct.
One of
Yes.
my best friends had a husband who went through a long battle with cancer, and so she was a caregiver of a veteran. I'm not sure she was even aware of
Have her
that.
check out that website. I posted that caregiver retreat on that website.
That's lovely. That is just really so helpful. And are you aware, Brian, of any new legislation or anything that's coming up as far as veterans are concerned that we need to be aware of?
Yes. Give me a second here to recall it. The widow's tax. There is in Congress to remove taxation or increase taxes. I'm not quoting it properly, but it's called the widow's tax.
Okay.
And I do believe that what they're trying to do is, upon the death of a veteran, the tax that for beneficiary and for people that reside, they're going to increase it. It's a bill that needs to be addressed. But again, the more veterans that are registered, the louder their voices to be heard in Congress.
So you're saying, Brian, that the veterans are going, the beneficiaries,
The beneficiaries of
are possibly going to be receiving more money.
No, they're going to be
Losing.
taxed. They're going to be losing money at the thousand, at a tune. Don't quote me, but I do remember reading something like $1,200 a month deduction.
Right. That's tough.
That's
That's tough. My father died when I was a year old. My mother was a widow. There were 9 of us kids, and we grew up on survivor's benefits. So I understand, you eat a lot of oatmeal in those kinds of situations, and that's a sad day if we have to cut from the veterans. And sometimes our veterans come back with addictions and post-traumatic stress and feelings of trauma and depression and anxiety, the whole gamut, right?
Yes,
Anything
yes.
along the psychological services that we certainly need to be mindful of that and out there and encouraging for our veterans to live a whole, happy, healthy life. We only have a few minutes left. I wanted to talk a little bit about the VFW because I know that there's breakfasts that are open to the public,
Yes,
and
it is.
dinners that are open to the
roast
public.
beef dinners, yes.
Roast beef
yes.
dinners, and they're so delicious. But the thing that's really amazing to me is that they don't charge much, but they charge enough to be able to bring the money back to support services and programs and all the other things that you have going
That
on.
coffee house that's being sponsored by the VFW, they provide the means for me to buy the cookies, the donuts, the sodas.
Wow. That's really nice because you feel like if you go out, you get to meet people, you get to be in the community
Correct.
with all of the veterans, and then on top of that, you're supporting other programming. And both of those places, if I'm not mistaken, are available for rent if you
Yes,
wanted
that
to
is correct.
have. And they're nice facilities. They're beautiful. The coffee house is right off the water in Niantic, overlooking Mermacook Beach is, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it'd be a beautiful place if you were an artist.
Oh, yeah, you could set up a real nice watercolor studio.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it?
That sure would.
Oh
That
my
would sure would.
That's a great idea. Maybe we should work on that, Brian. Yeah, that would be a good thing to do. Okay, is there anything that we didn't cover that you think that we need to have our guests know before the clock just quits ticking on our show today?
Okay, future veterans.
Future.
Future veterans, they need to be counted. Important, they got to get your DD-214s registered with the VA system. You got to have it also on file at Town Hall.
Okay. We talked about that. One thing I know, Brian, that I thought was really great is I ran into you, I guess it was, over at the middle school.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
that was Veterans Day.
Yes, it was. Yes,
Also,
that is
that's
correct.
corduroy day. Did you know that? 11/11
Yep.
corduroys? Okay. So we were over there, and the kids were so enamored by the people who served and the stories they told. And to meet a real live veteran and for them to open their heart, for a veteran to say, I felt lonely, or I missed my mom, or I was worried. And just, the letter that I received was the best part of my day, or whatever they
Yes.
say, was so powerful for the kids to feel more empathetic and more aware of what the impact is.
Each veteran has a story.
Absolutely.
Library of Congress wants to capture each and every veteran's story. They're called the Veterans History Project. I already recorded one veteran. I recorded a second veteran. They're looking for people to help record veteran stories.
Now, is that something that's going on at the high school in East Lyme as well?
I tried to get the East Lyme High School involved into it. The answer is yes. This is through the Library of Congress. They're looking for people to record veteran
So that would
stories.
be good if people like history and they wanted to connect with a veteran and
And then if you've got your grandfather, you want to know, what did my grandfather do in the war?
yes. It's just, I think it's a win-win for everybody. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that,
Oh, yeah.
and it's connecting. And I would imagine the more veterans you have connected with younger people, the longer they will live and the better life they will have.
Also, you've got these veterans, they're living history. These are the people that been there, done that. They can add to a story that Reader Digest does not capture, the emotion of the time. They were there.
Right. Well, and sometimes they'll have some of their memorabilia. They'll pull out their medals or their pictures of themselves. Maybe they're 95 and you can see what they look like when they were 25 and just get a sense for what their experience was like.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And I think it's all about understanding and listening and sharing and knowing that somebody, like you said, been there, done that, right? That was your expression?
Exactly. Now, to share it so that others too may have that joy of giving.
Right. And you do feel better if you feel
You do.
like
You
you're
really
not
do.
alone.
You really
And
do.
what I find is that most people have situations that are probably more difficult or stressful than anything I've ever experienced.
Yes, they have. And how they dealt with it is also a lesson for future generations, because history repeats itself.
It does. We're done. Okay, that was just a lovely show. Thank you so much for being on.
You bet. My pleasure. My pleasure.